Hello friends, you're the Lonesome Gamer, and today I'm gonna play Waste Night by Badger's Nest. And before I start talking about this game, I just wanna show you the wonderful artwork of this, and I'm gonna do this again and again and again during this video because it's simply outstanding stuff. Just look at some details here, and we're not talking only about a spectacular box cover and then maybe a few rare things in the box and maybe a great picture on the rules. No, the art goes really through the whole game. It's absolutely fantastic, and it adds obviously a lot to the theme. And the theme is, as you might guess, a post-apocalyptic scenario, kind of Mad Max like, and yeah, well, let's set up the game. Okay, so before we start, I want to really give you a chance to take once more a look at this fabulous artwork here. Now this is absolutely mind-blowing. In this light, it's actually not perfect to see, but the quality of this and of the colors and all, it's just so fantastic. This stuff looks awesome. So we got this guy here. This is our first hero, Hugh Jackal, the tracker. Fill my tank and add some bullets and I will find what you seek. If you ask nicely, I'll get rid of it too. Okay, so this is basically the side we're gonna see during the game. And as you can see here, he starts with some special items, a sniper rifle, a junk protector, and a Geiger counter. He's got some abilities: blades, talk, repair, guns, survival, medicine, and a special ability: you ignore all radioactivity and biohazard from your hex in the preparations phase. Okay. Now in addition, each character gets this here, and it indicates the radioactive I don't know, decay or whatever. No, that's the wrong word. The radioactive disease maybe he is at, and so how bad the radiation is for him. Goes from 0 to 4. Down here we have the tank from 4 to empty. Here we have his life points from 4 to 0, which means KO'd. And here we have his ammunition, also 4 to 0. And they start, well, with the best values possible. In addition, they gain a Medi shot, discard at any time to heal 2 wounds, some extra bullets, discard at any time to gain 2 ammo, and red out, discard at any time to heal 2 radiation. So that's these 3 cards. They are part of the starting equipment of every character. And now we can actually start, we have to make our first decision. We have to think about where to place them. So in general, these are his hands. So he's got the sniper rifle in both hands because it's a two-handed weapon. This is his body armor, the junk protector. And these 3 spaces are his pockets. In one pocket he's got the Geiger counter. So you can use the items in your pockets all the time during the game. But as you can see, there are only 3 spaces. So if we now place these 3 cards here, then we have to place one of these cards on the Geiger counter. So the Geiger counter is in general still there. These starting items, they don't go away. But he cannot use it as long as there is this card above, because technically it's no longer in his pocket. So we got to make a choice now what we want in our pockets. And I want the Geiger counter, the extra bullets, and the Medi shot. These are things we can use all the time. And these red outs, we're gonna put them in our backpack, which is underneath. And there are 3 there are also 3 slots in our backpack, so the red out goes into the backpack. In addition, we can choose a vehicle at the beginning. There are 3 vehicle types to choose from. Let me show. Yeah. So we got the Strider, and you can see here on the right, this is the speed. So if you pay 1 fuel, you get 4 movement points for it. And underneath it says how much you can carry. So you can carry 3 items with the Strider, in addition to the stuff your character has. Here we have the off-road, which comes with a speed of 3. So the Strider was 4, this one is 3. And you can carry up to 6 items here. Finally, we got the heavy duty, only a speed of 2, but it can carry up to 10 items and it ignores 1 damage each round. Still, I think that at the beginning, as long as you don't have many items, what you want is a fast vehicle. So I think everyone will start with the Strider. Might be wrong with this tactic, but I think it makes actually the most sense. So each character can also choose one of these 3 vehicles. He starts with the Strider and the others will do so too. Our next character is Michael Payne, the urban samurai. Just look at her, or him, well, him obviously. Here we got a plane going down in the back. So again, wonderful art. I'm not interested in being a common survivor. By the way, there are also quite a few ladies, but now in our group we don't have that. And I'm going to play with 4 people, but you can play it also with 2 or 3. And I'm pretty sure you can come up with some solitaire variants here. It shouldn't be too hard to do that. So he starts with a spitter, a machete. So he now has 2 weapons. This guy has a sniper rifle which takes both hands, but he can carry in one hand the spitter, in the other hand the machete. Also junk protector, the chili suit, which will help him in escape checks, and a lucky charm, which gives him the opportunity to draw more luck cards. And by the way, the Geiger counter said your survival checks and attack checks gain +1 die if your hex has a radiation. So we have, when you play the change range or the defend combat card, your opponent's attack checks additionally suffer -1 die. Your close combat attack gains 1 armor piercing. Okay, I'm gonna explain all that stuff later, just that you know that you've heard of it. So let's see what we want. I mean, I think this guy simply takes the med shot in his pockets, and maybe for the first turn he doesn't need the lucky charm. I will tell later why, because, well, basically you can draw these draw cards only during a phase which is skipped in the first turn, and because the lucky charm helps you when drawing luck cards, well, you don't need it. And we also place the red out in the backpack. Next character. Again, what a artwork. Joffrey Goldrush, the trader. If this hardly used boomerang doesn't return to you, I'll cut my own throat. Twice. Okay, so he starts with a Kalash, a vest, which is better than the junk protector. You can see here, that is the armor it gives you. The junk protector only gives you 1. The vest is 2, which is already pretty solid. A prepper's kit. Your survival checks gain +1 die. And also a lucky charm, which allows him to draw 1 additional card. After you perform trade, in which you received at least 1 gear card, you can draw 1 green gear card from the green gear deck. Okay. So he's not such a great fighter, but he comes with a pretty awesome equipment. I think I want to give him the med shot. And I'm going to place the other items in the backpack for now. And finally, we got Guy Piercing. The Judge. Imagine I have a shiny badge in a petrol car. Better? Great. Now hand me your gun. Okay. So he's got a PA shotgun, a junk protector, gunsmith's kit. Used during the rest step, choose a knight on your hex. This knight gains +1 ammo. Then mark this card. Okay, so marking a card basically means that you can use it only once per turn. And we got the lucky charm again. So all these guys can draw a lot of cards, except for him. All of these have the lucky charm, which allows you to draw these additional luck cards that kind of give you some advantage during the game. When you accomplish a task, you additionally gain +1 fame, or honor, or whatever. Other knights cannot steal your private tasks. If a mission requires placing a villain marker on the board, you choose where it is placed instead of the waster. No, that's not bad, because the mission we're gonna do will be such a mission. And here, because my space is limited, I'm gonna place the backpack items above him. So I'm not sure. I think for now I'm gonna do the same thing and place the medic shot here, and the other 2 items go here on top. Well, as I said, we don't need the lucky charm right now, so maybe I should place the extra bullets here. Same with him. But, well, I also doubt that we will need the extra bullets, but one never knows. Okay, so let me first explain a little bit about the background story. It's a long one. This is all the introduction here, and I'm not going to go through this in complete detail. So the basic idea is that the world is massively overpopulated and poverty is everywhere. The crime rates go through the roof, and everything is pretty much disordered. So what happens is we see some big companies taking over, and they have their private police and security departments, and more they are taking simply control of the world, and the governments are just basically their puppets. Now the game takes place in Australia, and the big the big company there is called Cerberus, and I'm not sure if we know what they actually did. They seem to do a lot of stuffs, something like, I don't know, maybe energy, pharmaceutics, genetics, all kinds of things. And they have also massive labs underground, and massive reactors, atomic reactors, all underground. And then one day, such a big power plant simply exploded, and the disaster was so massive that it actually broke the Australian continent into two pieces. So it looks pretty much like this now, which is a little bit ridiculous, I give you that, but that's what officially happened. That's the story. So the Australian continent is now divided into two pieces, and obviously, I mean, instead of simply killing everyone, possibly on the whole world, which didn't happen, most people in Australia died or suffered a lot, and so they had a pretty bad time. But after some years or tenths of years, people adapted and they kind of recovered a little bit. So there is now this Mad Max-like civilization with a few cities around, and some adventurers trying to make their luck in the waste. And of course there are lots of, because of this catastrophe, many areas are wasted, are radiated or polluted with biohazards, and you see mutants running around, some victims of weird genetic experiments done by the Cerberus concern. They were the Cerberus company. They are also now all loose somewhere in the desert, and obviously it's pretty dangerous to travel this area. So you can see here the game board is a semi-randomly made of hexagons. And we have these 4 here. They are actually connected. It's a little hard to see, but these are not separate hexagons. These 5, they are in the center. And there are cities which have this symbol here. And they are also placed on specific spaces, so that they're kind of all around the board. But different from the rule book, I actually randomized the cities and placed them, these 4 cities, and placed them not completely random. I placed them on their spaces, but it is said, well, city number 2 should be, for example, here, and city number 4 should be here. And I didn't do it. I placed the cities on the spaces, but not each city on their space, because I like randomness a little more. Then we have these special areas, which are the ones with the pictures, but not the cities. So like this one, this one here. And they have also their determined spaces, but not each its specific space if we follow the rules. But they are then randomly placed on their determined spaces. And then what you do is you fill it all up with these, kind of common landscape tiles. You do that also randomly. It's a little interesting here that we see the desert here in the east and in the south, and here in the west it's all kind of this other type of landscape, but that is just randomness here. I really like the fact that there is a frame around this, so it's you can actually move this board a little bit without messing it all up, and it fits perfectly. So this is really a compliment I got to give these people. The components are absolutely top. Up here we see the so-called stalls. So that's what's out there for trade. They come with different values. Some are these green cards. This is the cheapest stuff. The yellow ones are still common, but a little better. And these are the rare items, the red ones here. In a minute, I kind of messed this up. Yeah, it should be like this actually. Should it? Yeah, exactly, because this one here is actually a yellow card. You can see it on the back and on this one, but you have to pay the value of a red card. And so that's a bad offer, but it should be like this. Here you see the missions, small tasks that we can fulfill and that give us points or other rewards. And there should be other stuff laying around here, but I placed these cards over there because it's easier to me than, my table isn't that big, and that game has, well, quite a huge footprint. It's not massive like Arkham Horror with all its expansions, but it's not bad. Down here we see the range cards, which are important for combat. Over here we got the different tasks. There are two type of tasks. We have the different items here, and these are the event cards. These are luck cards, and these are the combat cards that we're going to use later for combat. And we have also a few more vehicles here. Okay, so what's the goal of the game? Well, here we have a mission book, and the game comes with 5 missions. And you might say, that's not much. But from what I can see now, these missions are really, really different. So other games might give you, I don't know, 10 or 15 missions or so, but all are more or less the same. These are not. You got 2 pretty short kind of introduction missions. One of them is a mission where the knights simply fight each other, and the one who survives all the fighting wins. The other one is simply a mission where you just have to do a number of these tasks and then you win. Then you got much longer, 3 much longer missions. One mission where you fight this boss enemy at the very end, who's a very powerful guy. So you gotta gain some cool weapons and get stronger and stronger. So it's the classic way, like Runebound or so. And this is a little bit like that, but also a little more tricky from what I see. The Damsel in Distress, and I want to play that. And the last one is the Cult of the Manifold. And this is also, it seems to be some kind of semi-cooperative game, which is kind of interesting. It might also give you a good option to do this in a, maybe in a complete cooperative or in a solo mode. So yeah, there are definitely interesting types of missions, and they seem to be all really different. So let's read the scenario here. Mangy Rico, the mayor of a mining town, Gangrene. This is the town which is right here in the middle of the game board. Had always been a womanizer despite his ugly face. However, the locals could forgive him almost everything because the business was good and lots of travelers were willing to visit the town and spend their money in the saloon or help in the mine. But you never know when the one true love happens. Rico made his first mistake when he got bored with the working girls from Gangrene and started looking for adventures. He made a second mistake when he got infatuated with Bloody Mary, a notorious thief and fraudster, the Black Widow of the Waste, who left more men bleeding out in the desert than hungry locusts. This time Rico was lucky enough to keep his worthless life, but the girl took something much more valuable, the payout for miners. A pile of useful gear disappeared along with Mary. Rico was dumbfounded, while the blue collars were simply furious. The bottom line is, find Bloody Mary and bring her to Gangrene. She will end up in the mayor's loving embrace or with a noose around her graceful neck. Lots of fun either way. Okay, so what we got to do is, or what each player wants to do is, we want to gain at least 10. Yeah, we want to gain 10 fame points. And then one guy is going to place the Bloody Mary villain marker on the board. And any knight with at least 10 fame points can then try to gain that marker. He's got to do a test, and then he has the marker. And then he has to try to go back to Gangrene with that marker. And because of some special rules, this is going to be a little harder than it usually would be. And the guy who makes it back with the marker, he wins the game. We have a time limit of 12 rounds though, and the rounds are tracked here. And if these rounds are gone, if these rounds are over, then the winner is the knight with the most fame. If there is a tie, we compare the value of all gear cards owned by the tying knights. And there is still a tie. All tying knights share victory. So that's the goal of the game. Okay, so I suggest we kick it off. And by the way, these are our well, knight markers, and no cool minis, but to be honest, I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't need to pay, I don't know, $100 or something just to get some cool looking minis. It's a nice thing, of course, but that's also great. So they all start here. And by the way, these standees, they are from Arkham Horror. I prefer them to the ones they came with. I think they look much better. And so we all start in this this area here of Gangrene. And well, then we're ready to go. Okay, so first player is this guy. He's got the first player marker. We go like this, down here, and this one, and then we go back. And then we have a so-called waster. And he's the guy who basically plays the bad events on the actual player. And the waster is always the player sitting opposite to the active player. So that means now when this guy is doing his turn, the waster would be that one. I mean, actually, if I'm playing solo, I could do it any way I want. I could place this card next to him or wherever. But let's assume these guys sit opposite to each other. So the waster would be this guy, and this is the waster marker here. So the main goal is to get points, and we have to get these fame points, which are tracked here, and we have some markers for that too. For example, this one here. And these markers, they suck. This is pretty much the only component which really sucks in this game. Everything else is fantastic, but the markers, they are simply too small and too thin. I don't like them at all. So we can place them here, and also the shape as a triangle makes it not that great to grab. So, well, and we have another one here, so we got to place them all here on the, well, basically on the 0 space. And we have that turn marker here on the 1 space, of course. Damn it, then this one here. And the last one is the red one. That also goes here. Okay, so we want these, we want at least 10 points, which will allow us then to get the girl. And there are two main ways to gain points. The first one would be through fights. But winning a fight is a fairly heavy task in this game. It's not as simple to win a fight here. And the other way to gain points is due to these tasks that we have here. This one, for example, would give us 2 points. That one 1 point. This one 1 point. So let's read these tasks here. We have here a common task that is marked with this symbol here. No one can work blue-collar needs. No one can work 14 hours a day digging coal and breathing dust without some motivation, if you catch my drift. Unfortunately, our usual sugarmen have depleted their supplies. This task will be accomplished by the first knight to explore Warata Industries. Let's see, there is always a number here. So that's number 10, which is here. And discard any 2 medicine cards there. Okay, so this, for example, is a medicine card. You can see the symbol here. That would be also a medicine card. So we all have now 2 medicine cards. Then place the pills marker active side up on the Warata Industries hex. And that would give us 2 points then. So that's a fairly simple thing to do. Basically everyone can do that. So here the first player will be probably the lucky guy who can fulfill that first task by simply moving in there. Maybe if nothing bad on the way happens. Then we got here 2 small favors. Let's see what the first one is. And these are now no common tasks. You can see this symbol is not here. It says, my mate Grey Earl needs a little help in getting rid of some mutated scum from his farm. Do this job and return to me. I should have a piece of useful gear for your trouble. Explore any hex except a city hex. Take this card. Explore New Sydney. You accomplish this task. Okay, so, well, obviously we could explore any hex. And then we got to go to New Sydney, which we find here. And then we've done that thing. So these private tasks, that's what they're called, they work a little different than the common task that we've seen at the beginning, where you simply got to do something first and then you have resolved the task and you get the points. Here, usually you got to go somewhere and explore something and then you get this card. And only the guy who has this card then can move somewhere else and, well, accomplish the task then. It is possible for other knights to steal these so-called private tasks. So if someone has fulfilled the first point of that card, so if he has explored any region on the board, then he can take that card, but then another guy can come, fight him, and if he wins the fight, he gets that task, and he only has to move then to that second area or fulfill that second task, and then he would gain the reward, and the other guy had bad luck. So that's that's a private task. Only the person who has that can solve it. Same thing here with a small favor. Another one, since I returned home, I just can't stop thinking about Randy Ellis. Find her a nice present out there and deliver it for me with this letter so that she remembers about me. A reward will be waiting. Explore any hex except the city hex. Take this card. Explore Ellis' offsprings. Okay, so that's basically the same thing. Just another city. Ellis' offsprings is here. So that's where we want to go. That's also a pretty simple task to fulfill. And yeah, and that's it. There are only 3 things to do, and you see we have only 2 private favors or 2 private tasks and 1 common task. So there will be definitely a run on these different tasks, and people will probably try to steal them from each other and so on. And here this guy Pearson, has an advantage. Then private tasks cannot be stolen from him. Other knights cannot steal your private tasks. Okay, so I think what we're going to do is this guy here starts right off moving to Warata Industries. discarding these 2 cards, and then gaining 2 points for doing so. On the other hand, I'm not sure. I mean, it's an interesting point here, because having such a medi shot is a very useful thing as long as you're weak. So maybe it's not a bad idea to start off with a small favor, which would give us 1 point and an additional card as a reward. So it's right away hard to decide. But then again, it takes us about 2 turns to fulfill this, and only 1 turn to do this. So I guess I'm actually want to go there to Varata Industries, deliver some drug to the miners so that they can do their work. So how do we do this now? And by the way, here on the back we have a very useful player aid, and you can see there's a lot of steps during a turn going on. The preparations phase is skipped in the first turn, so we don't have to care about that. We just do the wasteland phase. So we start with the move step here, and we got to plan our route. Okay, to do this we have these little markers here, these wheels. And well, we don't go far. We place one here and another one here. That's where we want to end up. Okay. To get there, we count now the number of wheels here in the upper right corner of the hexes. So in this case, 1 wheel and a second wheel. So we need 2 movement points to get there. And if we spend 1 fuel, you can see that here, we would gain 4 movement points. So that's perfect. We can spend 1 fuel, and then we can move right in here. The excess movement points are lost. That's bad luck. But anyway, we get there with spending a single fuel. So where is this guy? It's this one here. So he now simply enters this space. And if you enter the first space of your journey, then the waster, this guy here, is allowed to draw a card. And he can read that card, but he doesn't have to play it. He can if he likes, but he doesn't have to. So that would be a roadblock. You can discard any gear card to ignore this card. Stop immediately. You lose 1 damage and your car suffers 1 damage. You lose 1 wound and your car suffers 1 damage. Well, that's not great, but you can ignore this card simply by discarding a gear, so that's probably not that terribly strong. And now, because there is this symbol here, that skull symbol, that means if you enter this hex, you have to draw an additional card. So the first card, that card was drawn simply because it was the first hex he entered on his way. And then, because there is the skull, we draw another card. Okay. Now this is a wounded stranger. Stop immediately, you lose fuel, and skip the exploration step this round. That kind of sucks. On the other hand, it gives him as a reward 1 fame and a green card. So actually, this is not such a bad card. It's basically the same. It has the same effect as fulfilling one of these small favors. Therefore, I think I will not play this card either. because it kind of helps this guy, even if he has to stop there. So I let him move on, and he now enters this space. And now we're not allowed to draw another card just for entering the second space. You can only draw a card for entering the first space, and then you are allowed to draw cards for each skull symbol in addition. So that's the reason why we had now 2 cards for the first one, first space, skull symbol, and now we can draw 2 more cards because this is a really dangerous area, so we're allowed to draw 2 additional cards. Okay, and now we got 4 cards on our hand, and now we have to play one of these cards. And that's the thing. During a journey, during a movement step of an active player, the waster is allowed to play exactly 1 card, no more. If he had played that card, he's also not allowed to draw any more cards. So if he would have played one of the cards right here, and the other guy would have been allowed to move on, then he could simply move on, and the waster would not have been allowed to draw these 2 cards in addition. But as long as you haven't played any cards, you can keep drawing cards for each skull symbol, and at any time when the other guy enters a new hex, you can decide if you want to play one of these cards. And the moment you do this, you discard all cards or all non-played cards, and you don't continue drawing cards because you're only allowed to play a single card per turn. Okay, so let's see what these 2 cards are now. We have here Alice's Exiles. That's a pretty nasty guy, obviously. After combat, if you lose, you must discard all your medicine card. Now that really sucks. That's pretty much what we might want to give him, because that would bring him in a lot of trouble. On the other hand, there is a good way for him to get out of this problem. He only needs to do a talk test, and then he managed to escape. But still, I think I wanna play that card because it really sucks. If he doesn't make it, he's in trouble. Actually, I forgot something which is important. Each player starts the game with 3 luck cards, and I basically should have done that before. But okay, it's now not that bad, because some cards would have allowed the player maybe to move along on the road without having any problems at all. But okay, so here we are. These are the luck cards, and you can see here, you can play that, for example, before combat. Set the range of the first clash. The deep pockets, you can freely re-equip your gear cards after setting the starting range of combat. Faster before opponent's attack check. He suffers 2... he has 2 less dice to attack, and so on. So there are all kinds of useful one-shot cards that you have, and each turn you can basically draw a new card. But we start with 3. The hand limit is 5, by the way. You're never allowed to have more than 5 of these luck cards. So finally, let's start this. We play this card here, Alice's Exiles, and yeah. The others are simply discarded. So let's take a look at this guy. We have here Now this is an enemy, obviously. These are his combat values. Here on the left we have the attack dice he is allowed to roll, 3. This is the range in which he would fight. So that means it's medium range and close combat, melee combat. That means here that he does 1 additional damage, and this are his life points. Okay. I'm going to explain this all in detail a little later. Actually, I want to avoid combat at this early state in the game because combat is a tough thing, and this guy is also not exactly an easy enemy. Doing 6 damage is tough. There is a way to get around this. We might talk to this guy. It seems hard to imagine, but it seems possible. We got to do an easy talk test. It's green, that shows that it's easy. We only need a 5 to be successful. So we have here a bunch of cool looking 10-sided dice. You know, they got this kind of a radioactive color. Or this radioactive warning color. So what we can do now is we can see a number here. We got this talk, that's a 1, which sucks. And we don't have anything here that really helps us. So we have to do it. We have 1 die and we got to roll a 5 or higher to be successful here. This is called an escape check. And we made it. Very good. So if we pass the escape check, we can simply ignore the card. And that's what we do. So the card is discarded. And that's it. So if we were now still on the road, we could simply move on. And no one could play anything more on us because you can only play 1 card. But we now made it, so that means we simply stay here. We're going to explore this area a little later during the exploration step. Now the other players are going to make the move step. So technically what happens now is this guy here is now doing his movement step, so this waster marker would now go to the next guy here, and he can now decide which card to play on him, and so on. So that means the downtime, if you play with more people, is really very low, because, well, you are either the active player or the waster, and, well, at least in 50% of the turns, you can do something. So that's definitely a good idea. In the end, it doesn't really matter who's the waster right now. There are a few exceptions later on where that in a solo game it doesn't really matter. There are a few exceptions later where the waster can take some decisions, and then it's interesting. Okay. So let's see what we're going to do. We have now the option, we could explore any hex but a city, and then we want to go to New Sydney. Well, we could, same thing here, any hex except a city, but then to Alice Offsprings. Question is, which one is better? New Sydney is here, Alice Offsprings is down there, so it's maybe a little easier to get here. In addition, on every hex you have some special options what you can do. So we've got a player 8 here, which indicates what you can do there, and that's obviously also now an interesting factor. So in New Sydney we could trade, and there's a special additional New Sydney gear card from the stores available, which is actually this card here. So that is actually a card which is red, but it goes for a yellow price. So therefore it's a little cheaper. That's an option. In addition, we could replenish our health and our tank and our ammo for the cost of a green card. Okay, what can we do in Alice Offsprings? Well, there we could also trade, but we cannot trade medicine cards there. Here we have a pretty bad ratio when it comes to healing. We could either heal or replenish ammo and fuel, but it costs us 2 green cards. And here, for both things, we only have to pay 1 card. What we could also do here, though, is we could give away a red card and then gain 1 fame in return. So overall, I think it's not that cool to hang out in Alice Offsprings, but it's better to be in New Sydney. So we're going to try to get this favor card here. And, well, basically we could move now everywhere, it just has to be a cool place to be. Well, we might move here, for example, or here. We could also move on one of these spaces here, of course, but here we might have the option to do also some other things, and I'm going to check out which is more interesting for me. Thinking about moving here to Cerberus Towers would allow us to gain either 1 yellow card or 2 green cards. That's pretty cool. The problem is there is a biohazard and a radioactive symbol, so that means we would suffer from radiation and from this biohazard. We would suffer 1 health from the biohazard, so that kind of sucks. Still, I think it's interesting to go there. Some equipment might be helpful here. So what I'm going to do is now, I'm simply going to move here. And because it's an adjacent space, I don't have to drive there. I can go there by foot. Well, actually, you don't really go there by foot. It's assumed that you drive very, very carefully and that you drive in a way very economically so that you don't waste any fuel and that you find some additional fuel on somewhere on the road and check other cars for fuel and so on. So the point is, you move there, you take your vehicle with you, but you don't pay any fuel if you move to an adjacent space. And it's called moving by foot or on foot. So that's what we do. We take here our ninja and simply move here, and that's it. Now, we could have marked that, of course, and we should have done that, but hey, who cares? So we move here now, and that means that the other guy can simply draw a single card for entering that hex, and that's it. And he has to play that card, no matter what it is. And we see a pretty impressive monster here. That is a gun tower. Holy shit. This enemy ignores effects of click luck cards. Well, that's a special card which basically says that the other guy is out of ammo. And now let me see, there is... Yeah, that sucks. Now here, there is this Cerberus Tower. Attack check of these robots, or whatever that is. This is some kind of a robot. Enemies on this hex and on all adjacent hexes gain 2 additional dice. Well, that's exactly here. So that is a problem, obvious. And Well, I think it would be great to run away. Problem is, we only have here a single die, but I'm gonna try it anyway. This guy is definitely much too hard for me to fight right now, especially here in this area. So I'm gonna try to run away from him. Take another die. I need to fulfill a repair check, so I need a 9 this time or higher. Very unlikely. And I didn't make it. Okay, so what happens now? Well, it's not too bad actually. What happens is we simply take a wound for failing this test, this escape check, but that's it. Then we're done. And we could have actually moved on now if we would have placed some more movement markers. So that's actually all that happens here. Now, I just want to show you one thing. Sometimes the reward could be fame, or sometimes it could be a red card instead of a yellow or a green card. So if this is the case, you don't take 1 wound, but you take 2 wounds, and then you can move on. But now this time it's only a yellow card as a reward, so we take 1 wound. Means we simply take this, flip it. Now we have 3 left, and that's the end of our movement step. Okay, so it seems to me like it might be a useful idea if basically the trader would also move here, because he could do the other small favor, and well, we've already seen that this might be a useful area to be, so I'm gonna move there too. It could be any hex we have to explore, so it doesn't really matter where. And yeah, that's then our movement. I'm thinking about playing this card here. That's my hood. We would play it before moving. During this move step, the waster does not draw any wasteland cards and cannot play any on you. But I think I'm going to hold on to this card. This is just one single card that can be played, so maybe it's not too bad. Some cards are even good. So, well, that one isn't great. It's the cattle drive. Okay. Again, great artwork here. So stop immediately. You lose 1 fuel and skip the exploration step this round. Well, okay, that kind of sucks. But then again, as a reward, I would gain fame and 3 ammo. So the problem is I already have 4 ammo. So I would not gain additional ammo. That's not possible. If you have 4, that's the maximum. I got a torque value of 4, which is pretty high. So it's an interesting question. Now I got to make that decision. I could face the card, not try to escape, not do this talk test, but face the card. That would mean I would lose the fuel, and I cannot do the exploration step. So I could not take a favor because I have to explore any hex except the city hex. I had to explore this hex to take that private task. Therefore I could not do that, and I also would not be allowed to do this special event here from Cerberus Tower to get 2 green cards or a yellow card or whatever. So that kind of sucks. On the other hand, I would gain this fame point right away. And for doing the favor, I would also only gain a fame point. Hard to tell. Problem is, if I try it and if I do the talk test and I fail it, then I have to face the card, but without getting the reward. So this is a real tough decision to make here. And I think if I would not have had any ammunition, I would have done it now. But because I won't get the ammunition as a reward, and only this point, I think I'm actually gonna try to take that test. I'm willing to take that risk. I got a talk value of 4, which is pretty good. So yeah, I think I'm gonna try it. Maybe I'm lucky, maybe not. Oops. So let's see. I need a 9 or higher. Let's hope for the best. Yes, there it is. That's a 10. Awesome, I made it. Very good. So I was successful. Now remember, that means I don't have to face that card. That also means I don't get the reward. But I don't have to stop here. I don't miss my exploration phase. And I think that's worth it. What I could do now is, I could now try to interact with this guy. That would mean it would come to a duel. First I would ask him if he wants to interact with me, and if he says yes, then we would have to fight. And after the fight, we could actually trade. If he doesn't want to interact with me, I can search this guy, and I have to make a survival check and so on. I'm not going to go into this because simply I don't want to fight. Okay, and therefore, and only the guy who enters the space can try to do this interaction with the other knight. And I'm not going to do that. Okay. So then we see guy piercing. And what is he going to do? Now this guy is in some kind of trouble. Simply because he's the last one. And these missions they all work in a way that there is basically no chance for the others to somehow screw up. So if he would now move on one of these spaces with the goal to get one of these missions or to fulfill one of the missions, he would not be successful because the others are simply first. So that kind of sucks. Therefore, I'm not absolutely sure what to do with him. I mean, I got that card here, hard as a rock. That's kind of neat. For combat. So I could, for example, enter one of these spaces, trying to attack one of these guys. Maybe it's even a better idea to enter this space here. I could attack this guy, and if I'm successful, I could steal one of his items. And if I steal one of these two medicine items, he cannot fulfill the task anymore because he has to discard 2 of them. So that might be an option. The question is now, who is in a better shape? Who has a better chance to fight here? Well, as I said, I don't know what kind of cards he has. You know, these cards are usually in somebody's hand and nobody sees them. But I see, okay, I got that card. which is a pretty good card for combat. And maybe that one could... I don't know, it's not that great actually. Hard to tell. Okay, now this guy has a sniper rifle, which is very similar. The power of it is very similar to my PA shotgun. I got blades 2, guns 3. Guns is the important thing here. This guy has also guns 3. So basically this is all a very, very open situation. I'm not sure if I really want to risk that. So I don't think I want to go there. And if we both take a lot of wounds, in the end the other guys will be kind of the winner of this duel. So I think I don't want to fight him. Okay, I can check what we got here in the stalls. And well, right now I don't have too much money. Basically, there is no money, but you simply trade with the cards you have. So you give something and you get something in return. And the cards have these values here. You got green cards, yellow cards, and red cards, and also blue cards. So I think you can pay 3 green cards for a single yellow card, and then 2 yellow cards for a red card. So that's pretty expensive. What I could do though is I could try to get maybe a green card, for example that one, the assault rifle. But the assault rifle, and that is actually not a green card but a yellow one, but in this case it's a cheap yellow one because you only have to pay a green card for it. A little complicated. But the only way to get that, or the only place, is the pumps. That indicates this one, you know. The other ones you can get basically everywhere. You see that's everywhere the same symbol, with the exception of this one. That's only available at the pumps, and this one, which is only available in New Sydney. So I think I'm gonna go there, go to the pumps and try to get this weapon here. That might be helpful later. The pumps are also not too far away. They're right here. So, and it's also not too dangerous. I can simply move through this hex and then here. So I'm simply gonna pay 1 fuel and then move in here. There is no skull, but because it's the first hex, this guy is actually, the waster is allowed to draw a single card. And what is that? INHR, I don't know what that means, but they look pretty awesome. And your attack checks suffer -2 dice. Oh, that sucks. And now the waster can decide. I mean, he couldn't play this card right now, or he can let me move into the next one and then play the card. But he has to play the card because it will be the only card he draws during my movement step. And by the way, again, I forgot to mark the cards with these markers, but it's not necessary if you play that solitaire. So I think he's going to play this card right now. I could do an escape test. It's not so hard. It's medicine 5. And I'm pretty sure I want to do that because I also don't want to fight these guys. I got medicine 2. So now I can roll 2 dice. And I only need a 5, so that should be possible. And it was. It's a 6. So I was successful here. I managed to escape that event. And I'm allowed to move on, and now I'm at the pumps. Okay, So this is then the end of the movement phase. Okay, now we come to the exploration step. And we start again with the first player over here. So he's here at this Varata Industries. So what do we have now here? This task will be accomplished by the first knight to explore Varata Industries and discard any 2 cards there, medicine cards there. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to throw away these 2 cards, this one and that one. They have both the medicine symbol here, so they go now to the discard pile. And as a reward, we gain 2 fame. And that's now, this marker now goes here. In addition, we got to place the pills marker active side up on the Varata Industries hex. Okay, let's find that marker. Okay, actually I decided to fulfill this, to accomplish this task after I do an exploration action on the location. You can decide if you want to do accomplish a task or take a task card, or if you want to do a single exploration action on the location. Every location comes with a specific or with some specific exploration actions. The problem is if I place this marker here on that card, I'm not allowed to do any exploration action as long as this marker is on that card. Maybe because everyone is on drugs or whatever. So what I got to do now is I can take one of these 2 actions. Well, I cannot lose 2 fame because I don't have them right now because I didn't do that task already. So what I do instead is I'm simply gonna draw a green card. That's the second action possible. So let's see what that is. Now that's a canister, discard at any time to gain 2 fuel. That could be helpful. So I'm going to throw this card here, or I'm going to take this card in my pocket. And now I will do I will accomplish this mission. I'm going to place the pills marker here and I'm going to discard this card. Okay. So now, as this task is accomplished, the waster, which is now during the exploration step, the guy sitting opposite to the first player, so it's again him, he can now draw 2 new common task cards, and then he's going to choose one, which will be the next common task. So here it's now kind of interesting who is the waster, because that could be now now this task, for example, is about defeating any gang or whatever enemy from Wasteland cards. So you got to be a good fighter to do this. And this guy, he's a trader, he's no good fighter, so he probably doesn't want this card. That's a nice trophy to defeat any enemy from Wasteland cards. So they kind of both suck, but well, I'm not sure. It's really hard to tell. Maybe here's the reward not so big, so I think I might actually place that card instead here. It says, "Father wants me to become a great hunter, but I just wish to be left alone. Kill something for me and maybe I will silence him for a couple of weeks." This task will be accomplished by the first knight to defeat any enemy from wasteland cards. Wasters must play enemy cards if able. Okay, so we'll place that card. And yeah. So that is then the end of the exploration phase of this guy. And now it's her. It's him, the ninja. And, well, he simply wants to take the small favor, explore any hex except a city hex, take this card. So yeah, that's what he's allowed to do. And we are now here at the Cerberus Tower. So that means we could now take a yellow card or 2 green cards. Now it's interesting. It really is. Yellow cards are worth more and are... Yeah, I really think about getting a yellow card here. I mean, 2 green cards could be also useful. But I still have some Medi-Shot and some ammo. I think I'm going to take a yellow card instead. Wow, that's a boomerang. And that's not bad. Let's see. It's not that great either. It has armor piercing, short distance, close distance, and it doesn't require ammo. That's a good thing. The question is now, I think it's not as good as the Machidi, because the Machidi does an additional damage. The Spitter seems also a little better because we can do a multi-attack here, so we can do probably more damage with this one. Not sure. I think I'm going to keep it for now, but I'm not going to take it in my hand. Maybe I can trade with it then. And now it's the trader, Joffrey. And he's simply going to take the other small... by the way, no, it's correct. He's simply going to take the other small favor. Now, these favors will not be refilled until they are completely accomplished. So that means now these 2 slots stay empty, and this nice trophy is now the only common favor that anyone could accomplish. So, let's see. Yeah, okay. Takes that card. And now he's also allowed to draw another card or to do something here at Cerberus Towers. And I think, yeah, well, yeah, I think he will also take a yellow card then. Okay, these are AP rounds. Discard instead of spending ammo when attacking. This attack gains 2 armor piercing. Now that's pretty awesome actually. So I'm gonna shit. I want to hold on to the lucky charm in the next turn. So I'm gonna place this card here on the Prepper's Kit. It's always good to have some Medi-Shot, especially as long as you're that weak. But I want them in my pockets. So, yeah, I'm going to place them here. Could be a useful card. So, and then finally it's Guy Piercing. And he is here at the pumps. So, he cannot do anything about any task or something, because there is no task left. But at least he can trade, and yeah, he can now throw away, for example, the red out, can pay for that, and then get in return the assault rifle. And I think the assault rifle is actually better than the PA shotgun. It has armor piercing, which is nearly as good as an additional damage. Not quite, but it's pretty useful. And the advantage is it has these 3 bullet tokens, which allow you to do a more powerful attack, basically. And so yes, I think I'm going to keep that assault rifle instead of the PA shotgun. And because you need 2 hands to hold that, I'm going to place it here in the middle of these 2. And I got to discard the red out. And that was then my action here at the pumps. Okay, so that's the end of the exploration phase. And we can only perform one of these actions. I don't know if I've said that already. There are more actions possible everywhere, but we can only perform one of them. And in addition, we could do something according to these tasks here. So now it's the rest step. Now knights could trade. And they could trade any equipment, they could trade ammo, or they could trade fuel. But they got to be on the same area. So these 2 knights, they could now trade. Let's see if there is... if that makes sense. Well, there is this boomerang here. But I think he doesn't really want it. This is a good item he might be interested in. But there is not a lot he can offer in return. So I think we won't see a trade here. Use gear cards. Well, now you could use gear cards that are not in your pockets to heal or whatever. But that's not necessary right now. You could also now rearrange your whole stuff. But I think I don't want to do that right now. Although someone... Yeah, this is the lucky charm. I think now I'm going to place this card here in my backpack because I want to use the lucky charm during the next turn. And this guy is in a similar situation. So he places this gear card here also in his backpack and then can use the lucky charm. Well, you could use this one, Gunsmith's Kit, used during the rest step. Choose a knight on your hex. This knight gains +1 ammo. Well, I cannot do that. So, yeah. Okay. Fine. Then we do the quick resupply. Okay. So quick resupply, what does that mean? Now, each luck card has a symbol. We have here hearts. We have here this ammo symbol. Here we have a canister. And here we have a radiation symbol. Now each player is allowed to discard one of these cards. Only one. And to, well, refill this specific this specific, I don't know, item or whatever. So he's going to do that. He's going to discard this not this time old chap card. So there we are. And that allows him now to heal. And, well, the others, he could discard this chop chop to gain an additional fuel, but he doesn't want to do that because he's at the pumps, and in the next turn at the beginning at the preparation step, because he's in a city, he can choose to, well, kind of heal or refill one of these four things. So he can actually fill up his bike anyway. Okay. So that's basically then the end of this quick resupply action. Then the knights that would be KO'd, they would now regain consciousness, but there is nobody KO'd, so that's also not happening. This is now the end of the turn. We haven't seen the preparations phase, because that's what happens usually at the beginning of the turn. And there are things like this radioactive thing and the biohazard, they become then active. So these guys will actually be hit by that, not at the end of the turn, but at the beginning of the next turn for being there. Okay. So I think I'm going to load this up now. I've talked a lot, and yeah, I hope you kind of enjoyed it. I think this is a really interesting game with lots of opportunities and lots of options, and we'll see how it continues. Hope to see you in the next video or on lonesomegamer.com. Bye.